Hey guys, Dr. Andy Rosenfarb here with AccuVision Acupuncture. So we got a really interesting question. I believe it was late last week in our Facebook group. And the question was this: why do my eyes seem worse, or why does my vision rather seem worse some days and better other days? Rather than commenting, I figure it was a really important topic of conversation, one that I'd never even gone over. So I wanted to have that conversation with you guys today. I'm sure it's very, very relevant to a lot of you guys inside both our group, our patients, and basically to you if you and or a family member or a loved one dealing with eye issues, is experiencing this back and forth, good days, bad days, stuff like that. So let's get into that. We're going to have that conversation right now. So as you're aware, based on the question is, that happens, whether you have glaucoma, macular degeneration, eye strokes, Stargardt's, Usher syndrome, optic nerve atrophy, a host of these different eye conditions. Once they start to advance, early stage, you're not really going to see much of this. But as we get to mid stage and later or more advanced stages, we see that vision can start to waver. And by that, I mean you can have good days and bad days. Now, why? Why does that happen, right? You guys experience that. A lot of people have experienced that. But let's kind of dive into that and try to understand the mechanism of why, and then understand what can we do about that. Is it just like, is it something we have to live with? I believe not. So let's talk about what the problem is, and then I'm going to propose some solutions and help you guys to learn how to connect the dots so you yourself can figure out this puzzle and get more clarity on this and more control ultimately and feel better. Right? When you guys understand what's going on with your bodies and you understand that's empowering, and that makes us feel better because we not only feel more of a sense of power and control, but we also have a deeper understanding of what's going on. So let's go forward with this. So again, we have these days where our vision's seemingly clearer, brighter, our acuity's better, maybe our visual fields are better. And then some days it isn't, and we don't really understand why this happens. Well, I'm here to assert that the reason it happens is something that's called epigenetic factors. Now, what is that? So we have genetic factors, things we're born with. If you're kind of have macular degeneration, that can be a family genetic predisposition, same like glaucoma, of course. Things like retinitis pigmentosa, Usher syndrome, Stargardt's, rod cone dystrophy, and a host of these genetic conditions. So we know that a lot of these eye conditions do have a genetic component, all right? So that's genetics. Epigenetics is lifestyle, right? These are environmental factors, internal emotional states, metabolic states, hormonal states, and external environmental situations, blue light, UV radiation, pollution, radiation, just these viruses, microbial infections, all these external forces and factors that can influence our health and wellness. So that's it right there. So let's look at some of these, okay? More specifically, so let me give you some examples of that. Let's start with internally, right? The internal factors would be more like stress and emotions, right? So sometimes our vision can seem worse when we're stressed out, right? You can have either the day before or that day, or maybe going through a hard time, maybe a couple days, maybe a couple weeks, maybe a couple of months. So because of that stress where our bodies are dealing with mental and emotional stress, sometimes even physical or chemical stress. But let's hold off from that and just focus on mental emotional stress. What that is resistance. So we have circumstances that we're resisting in our lives that are creating tension and stress for us, mental emotional stress. So what happens biologically is our body secretes different hormones that causes vasoconstriction and inflammatory hormones, and things like cortisol, inflammatory catecholamines will result. We can have, again, vasoconstriction, which was reducing blood flow to the eyes and brain. Now, when that happens, we have reduced oxygen in food, right? All the cells in our eyes, the retinal cells, the optic nerve, the photoreceptors, the rods and cones, need oxygen and they need food, right? They need fuel. They're like little miniature versions of us. So they need to eat and breathe, respiration and metabolism. They also need to eliminate carbon dioxide and metabolic waste. So when we're under emotional stress, and you guys may have had experience of this, you feel tension in your body, and that tension is everywhere, whether you can actually feel it or not. Right? Sometimes you feel tense shoulders, sometimes you feel tension in your face, sometimes your jaw gets tense, sometimes you get a sick stomach or a tension in your stomach. It could go anywhere. So in this case, our eyes are kind of or one of our weaker links. So that's what's going to happen. We're going to have vasoconstriction. We're going to have these hormonal releases and metabolic shifts when we're under stress. And the effect of that can be a perceived decrease in visual acuity, visual fields, blurriness, contrast, color vision, brightness, things like this, a whole host of subjective visual experiences, right? So, and we know this, right? So let's take another health condition. So let's set aside eye issues. So maybe you're prone to headaches, right? Maybe migraine headaches. They're going to get worse when you're under stress. Maybe you have something like irritable bowel syndrome or colitis or Crohn's or ulcers or some type of digestive issues. When under stress, that's a weak area of your body and it's going to react. You know, you're going to have flare-ups, is we call it. And you're going to have more symptoms when we're under stress. Maybe you have like neck tension too, and that's going to get worse. Maybe sometimes women will have painful periods. Why is it some months that no problems and some months that it is? Again, stress because of the vasoconstriction. So again, what I want to do right now is we're just zooming out and we're taking the same idea of decreased wavering vision and applying that same concept to other health conditions that people have and realizing that it's pretty common, you know, with whatever health issue you have, that we're going to have good days and bad days or good months and bad months or periodic flare-ups or symptoms that just come and go. Maybe it's chronic fatigue. Maybe you have fibromyalgia that acts up. So again, things like emotional stress, which is the first thing we're talking about, can drive the symptoms for these specific conditions, is one internal epigenetic factor. Okay, so you guys understand that now. There are emotional states. So we can be depressed. We can have anxiety. We could be sad about something. We could be worried. We could get aggravated. We could get hit with a shock. Maybe there's, God forbid, a death in the family or a loved one or loss of a job or something like that happens. That's a shock to our system that creates stress and subsequent, this is our body's reaction to that stress. And what you're experiencing, again, when we talk about vision, is wavering vision or a decline in vision, all right? So that should make sense to you. If you guys have any questions about that, you can post in our group or ask for more clarity on that. But I think you guys understand that, the role of stress and that how that can affect our bodies. I'm going to do more on the physiology of that in another session, specifically how mental emotional stress affects the body and what the mechanism of action of that is. But just know right now, good day, when you have more stress in your life, that can definitely lead towards more bad vision days, meaning you're not going to see that well, and you may have more bad days than good days. All right, so that's one epigenetic factor, more internal factors. So let's look at other factors, okay? Metabolic shifts, right? Maybe your blood sugar's up and down. Maybe you haven't eaten so much and you tend towards hypoglycemia. Maybe you swing the other way and you tend more towards insulin resistance or prediabetes or diabetes. So your blood sugar fluctuations will absolutely have an effect on your vision. Why? Because the nerve cells in your eyes and your brain run on glucose. That's blood sugar, right? And when you don't have stable blood sugar, either it's too high or too low, that can impact your vision. Other things like hormonal changes. Actually, insulin is a hormone, so that would be more of a metabolic hormonal issue. Maybe women going through their periods are going to have hormonal cycles during different times of the month. During their period cycles, there's going to be during parts of the cycle, maybe you notice before your period, maybe it's brighter, maybe there's inflammation and you have PMS symptoms, and that's going to exacerbate it. Maybe after your period, women, you may tend to notice that your vision's a little bit worse. And the reason for that is because you've just experienced blood loss, right? Sometimes a lot. For a lot of women, they have real heavy periods. There's a lot of blood loss. And what carries the oxygen? Blood. So if you have a deficit of red blood cells temporarily due to heavy periods or childbirth, after you've given birth, after women have given birth to children, I see that a lot. Women report that their vision declines for a while after that. And that's because of the loss of blood and the loss of red blood cells, which carries the oxygen throughout the body, in this case specifically to the eyes. So the systemic red blood cell volume or iron levels in the body are decreased, and that's going to decrease the amount of oxygen that can be transported to these cells for cellular respiration. Certainly surgeries would fall into that category too, or any injury where there's significant blood loss. Other factors can be other hormonal issues, like maybe adrenal fatigue. That can be really important too, because you're going to be inflamed all the time because your cortisol levels aren't so high, or you're stressed out, right? Your adrenals are not stable. So either you're going from adrenal fatigue to adrenal stress. That can have an impact. Maybe you're not drinking enough water and you're dehydrated, and that's going to cause some metabolic issues. Maybe you're not eating, maybe you ate some foods that aren't great for you. Maybe you had a fun night out, right? But sometimes a fun night out, we don't eat very well. Maybe you had more desserts, and that's messing with your blood sugar metabolism or your digestive system. Maybe you've had more alcohol consumption. Maybe you're on new medications that your body's dealing with. Maybe your digestion's backed up and you've eaten a lot of greasy foods, and there's some more stress on your liver and gallbladder, so your detox pathways are off. Maybe, like we're dealing with in New Jersey, maybe it's allergy season. So when you have allergies, your mucous membranes inflame, right? So you're dealing with more inflammatory process. That can give you more bad days of vision, right? So there are all these factors. Maybe you got sick. You had a virus or a bacterial infection, or you have an internal bacterial infection that flares up, maybe like a Lyme disease or a herpes or Epstein-Barr or something like that, or long COVID. Maybe that's something you're dealing with that's causing this. So again, maybe you're more sensitive to chemical pollutants. Maybe you're in a major city for the weekend or something like that, or maybe you're traveling on a plane, and the cabin pressure might have had an influence on your vision. So again, there are all these factors. So I just gave you a whole host of factors, and it's almost, so you have each individual factors, and then you have the combination of these factors that can affect your physiology and your physical function, specifically your visual capacity, which is going to render good days and bad days. Now, of the seemingly endless list of factors that can impact your vision and give you good days and bad days, how do you know? Right? That's the next question. How do you know which one it is? I'm glad you asked. So this is the first thing I want you guys to do. First thing we're going to do is I want you to start journaling or logging when you have good days and bad days. All right? Whether it's on your phone, or you can keep a journal and write. You want to do an audio recording, you can do something like that. The point is you want to log it. Why? Because we want to find trends. We want to find patterns. We want to start connecting the dots. Guys, there is a reason you have ups and downs. It doesn't just happen. You go to your eye doctor sometimes like, yeah, it's just part of it. It's part of RP. No. I mean, yes, it's part of it, but that's insufficient. That's not a good answer. It's just not. So what I'm advocating for you to do, if this is something you're interested in sourcing and finding out, connect the dots. You have to start paying. You don't have to do whatever you want. You might want to start paying attention and just keeping track of what's going on in your life when you have good days and bad days, right? So is it allergy season? Oh yeah, I didn't have such a good day. Pollen counts are really high. Oh, I didn't sleep well last night, or oh, I was out, kind of with friends late, had some drinks, or maybe you stopped exercising. I haven't exercised. I haven't meditated. Start looking at what your activities are, what you're eating, what your sleep habits, what your hydrations, what the external environment, what your internal state is like. Audit that. We're doing an audit, right? An audit of your vision, and we're taking inventory of what's going on in your life so that you can get a better grasp on what's going on. And over time, you'll start to see the patterns and you'll gain insight into what's going on. And you're like, yeah, I went out drinking with my friends, or went out for cocktails with friends, or it was a late night. We stayed up late, maybe watching a movie on Netflix or something. And the next day, you're just going to have a bad day. So it's predictable. You're not guessing. You're not like, oh my God, I don't really know what happened. It's just predictable, and you know it. And then when you understand these patterns, as they'll start to emerge, then you can start to predict and understand what's going on and have more control over that. So that's the first part. The first, understand that first there are influential factors, internal and external, in the environment and with your emotional state that will drive good days and bad days. The second part is we want to start to audit and track them, right? So that you understand what these factors are, and you can begin to start to see. Guys, it's going to take time. You're not going to get this in a week. This may take months to figure this out and start to see what your patterns are like, okay? And this is good for any health condition, any chronic health condition you're dealing with, but of course we're talking more about your vision. So look at that. Take a look, slow down, look at your environment, look at your body, look at what's going on that could be contributing to this, okay? Then third, you want to do something about it, right? That's your choice. Once you know what these factors are, then the power lies within you to make decisions on what you want to do and if you want to manage it or not, right? You may be like, all right, I kind of smoke cigars sometimes and that's just my thing. And I and I see my vision declines after I do that. That's your choice, but at least you know now, right? So then you could start making decisions to mitigate these factors. And before I move on to that, I know I talked about the things that'll give you bad days, but I also want to make sure that you guys understand to lot the things that give you good days, right? So oh, my vision is really good today. Did you start exercising? Were you more relaxed? Did you take certain supplements? What happened? When you had a really good day, audit that too. Don't just focus on the negative. Focus on, if you had a good day, log that and audit that as well. So we want to see both sides of the spectrum, right? Not just the things that are going to impact negatively, but the things that are going to impact you positive as well, help contribute, because you want more of that. So the more trends you see on things that you do that'll improve your vision and give you more better days, we'll do more of that. And the things and factors that we've identified that are giving you bad days, you can identify and do less of that if you choose. Of course, beyond that, doing home care therapy is going to give you more better days. Watching your hydration, meditation, eating right, exercising, stuff like that, the stuff that we usually talk about. But of course, things like getting acupuncture, taking your supplements, doing eye exercises, that's going to be very impactful for some of you guys. Also, alternating current stimulation at home. Our patients have been using that for a while now, and we're getting a lot of reports back from patients that they have a lot more good days when they use the alternating current stimulation, ACS 3000, at home. And if you want more information on that, please feel free to reach out to me. So that's it, guys. To summarize, there are definite causes that are driving your good days and bad days. You just don't know what they are, all right? And it's your responsibility, if this is something you want to learn or figure out, if this is a puzzle you want to put together, to start paying attention, audit your situation, and then make your lifestyle decisions inside what you want to do and what you might not want to do to help manage this better. And then by adding home care therapies, general lifestyle improvements, supplements, getting acupuncture, Qigong exercises, alternating current stimulation, these will all help you have more better days. So that's the message here on Good Days and Bad Days for Your Vision. I'm Dr. Andy Rosenfarb with AccuVision, and your vision is our mission. We'll talk to you soon, guys. Take care and have a great day.
you.